Welcome to our first video in our Automation Excellence video series. We're calling this series A Roadmap to Success, and in it, we will share key topics and approaches to help you achieve network automation excellence. I'm Jeff Bradbury, VP of Marketing at Network to Code. In this video, we'll be focusing on the business value of automation, the typical automation journey, how to harness the power of automation, the importance of defining intent with data through a network source of truth, and how Nautobot supports your network automation efforts by being both a network source of truth and network automation platform. Enterprises waste millions of dollars each year by holding on to outdated and inefficient network management models. Automation provides a way to recapture that value lost to legacy practices. A few quick examples should help drive this point home. Let's start with lowering OpEx. Direct reductions to OpEx are often the most sought after outcomes, and network automation can help make these a reality. In this example, Nautobot compares your circuit data with the provider reports of provisioned circuits. Automation reveals any discrepancies, allowing you to pinpoint unused or underused circuits. By retiring or right-sizing these circuits, you can significantly reduce your monthly circuit expenses, directly going to your bottom line success. Automation also helps reduce business risk. Mistakes are a natural part of human-led activities, and engineering tasks are no exception. As the note in the lower left shows, 75% of degraded or failed network conditions are caused by human error. So clearly, automating as a way to reduce those sorts of errors will have a massive impact on your network stability and performance. In the example on the right, we're showing how automation does this by highlighting a non-compliant configuration, clearly flagging it with a red flag, and noting what configuration data is missing, and just as importantly, what extra configuration data is in there. These mistakes not only introduce potential network instability, but they also create security risks. And speaking of security risks, automation also plays a critical role in improving and maintaining security and compliance. Again, the note on the lower left highlights that 99% of firewall breaches are caused by misconfigurations. It is clear that programmatically maintaining your network will have significant beneficial impacts. As the example shows on the right, the automation of your firewall rules can create a multi-vendor, multi-platform capability. This capability will validate any new requests against existing policy and rules. It will also create pre- and post-validation checks to ensure any changes don't have some unintended consequence on your network. It will then execute those changes. And lastly, it'll close out the change process by closing the ticket and notifying the user. So let's talk about harnessing the potential of automation. Most automation journeys start in this lower left-hand corner. We all begin with that common CLI interface. Slowly, we begin to develop scripts, and ultimately, we might move on to some power tools. Essentially, what happens here, these are individual efforts or informal team efforts, but they fail to have the fundamental qualities that produce consistent and leverageable results across the enterprise. Real progress starts to be made when organizations adopt a network source of truth and automation architecture. The shared network source of truth defines the intended state of the network. It aggregates data from all of your IT management systems, and it enables the integration of data with your automations. The common automation architecture creates a centralized platform for your automations. It enables rapid deployments and changes to the network. It scales with your organization's automation needs, and it enables net DevOps practices, including the adoption of a CI/CD pipeline, enterprise collaboration, and version control. But the most powerful end state for automation is really when you get to this upper right-hand quadrant. This is the full realization of what network automation can do for you. Most workflows are automated using the intended state of the network to validate and drive configurations and behaviors across your entire deployed network. Almost all of your tasks will use some sort of self-service form, executing with little or no human intervention. Also, the network will seamlessly and dynamically identify network and security non-compliance events, highlighting these, as well as providing recommended corrective actions, and even going so far as to correct the anomalies automatically. These sorts of highly automated networks exhibit very high levels of standardization, simplifying troubleshooting and deployments, and exhibiting far fewer outages, and those outages are far shorter. So let's talk about defining intent with data. The source of truth is really about intent, meaning we express our intent in the source of truth, and that defines the authoritative state of the network. This is a very different way of thinking about the network than we've done in the past. In the past, we used to look at the network and try and glean an authoritative state from the existing network behavior and performance. But that's like trying to figure out what your Lego model is going to be by looking at a box of Lego pieces. Pretty hard to do, and you're really kind of guessing at a lot of it. If you think about this example of the Lego pieces, right? If you look at a box of Lego pieces, you may have all of the necessary pieces. The pieces may function correctly. They may be, all functioning and no broken pieces or no pieces that are, jammed up in a way that they can't do their job. But trying to put those pieces together without having some sort of blueprint or model to follow is really not likely going to get you to a fully functioning intended state like you hope for. You have to have that blueprint. You have to have that intended state to get that right final model done. And that's really what we mean when we talk about an intended state in the network source of truth. It's that fully defined blueprint that tells you how all of your network pieces are supposed to work together to achieve your end network goals. So let's take an example here and look at how the intended state supports the configuration of a switch. We've got a switch here with a configuration on the right. And of course, the first question is, the configuration correct? Well, there's really no way to know that unless you've got either an intended state or access to complete and accurate documentation. Further complicating this question is, of course, the configuration changes from device to device. We've got a combination of syntax and configuration data commingled here. So how do we take our concept of an intended state and apply it to the switch example? Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to abstract away the configuration data from the syntax. And so we've done that here by highlighting the configuration data in orange and leaving the syntax in black. And again, the syntax will change based on the device or vendor, so it will change all the time. But the data in orange is always the data that has to be consistent across all similar device types to achieve the same configuration compliance. So how do we affect this in the network source of truth? We create a data model, as we have on the left here, with two columns. The column on the left is your business terms for whatever the field names are that best fit your business behaviors. Maybe you use a particular vendor's syntax. Maybe you use some syntax that you've developed over time, but it's whatever your defined field names are for those particular data elements. The column on the right, though, that's the real configuration data, and that's the data that you have to get right and that you program into your model so that the source of truth can use it to apply across all different devices of a similar type. This is how you can use a single model to apply configurations to different devices and different vendors, because you abstract away from the syntax and you allow the model, you allow the tool to take the configuration data from the model and apply the proper syntax to it to get it into any particular device. So let's talk about how Nautilbot helps you with network management. Nautilbot delivers on the promise of network automation by serving both as a network source of truth and as an automation platform. The role of the network source of truth is to be a single pane of glass into the network data. To do this, Nautilbot creates a bidirectional data sync with many of your data sources. This can include your CMDB, your IPAM tool, and your DSIM platform. But having all of this data is just the start, because you want to use that data to achieve some sort of business outcome, ideally through automation. And this is where Nautilbot stands alone in the market. It is the only network source of truth that also integrates an automation platform. By doing this, Nautilbot allows you to run Nautilbot jobs. These are the automations that are organic to Nautilbot that allows you to do certain executions of your automated tasks, all within Nautilbot. Nautilbot also allows you to internalize any of your pre-existing scripts or power tools and run those scripts and power tools from within Nautilbot. So you get all of the Nautilbot validation and coordination tools applied on top of your scripts. So it's a great way to take leverage, or it's a great way to leverage your pre-existing scripts and power tools, but give them the control and the protections and the automations of Nautobot. And of course, Nautobot provides access to the Nautobot app ecosystem. This is a collection of open source applications developed specifically for Nautobot to address the most common network automation goals. And of course, Nautobot is an API-first platform, fully extensible, and it supports the most common management and integration tools. I encourage you to visit our case study site and download any of the case studies there. These real-world examples highlight the power and value of adopting network automation. This example focuses on a large and well-known bank with over 60 million global customers. It had a real challenge with data cleanliness. Projects were regularly delayed by weeks, if not months, due to missing or bad data. Enter network automation with Nautobot. A centralized data hub built on the network source of truth capabilities was deployed to provide data validation, standardization, and enrichment across all of the core ITSM systems. Automations handle the provisioning and maintenance of network services and equipment, reducing deployment times from weeks to hours. In addition, firewall rule changes are now programmatically evaluated, just as we showed in the firewall example earlier. This reduced the time needed for firewall changes by 35%. And lastly, change requests, which previously required interaction with dozens of systems and individuals, has now been reduced to a single touch point within Nautobot. Thank you for joining us today on our first Roadmap to Success video. Today we covered why automation is essential, harnessing the potential of automation, defining intent with data, and network management with Nautobot. If we can answer any additional questions or provide any further information, please reach out and use the provided contact details below, or scan the QR code and set up a time to talk with us. Thank you for joining us in this inaugural video, and we hope you have a great day.